welcome to the LTC webinar series. My name is Brian Bates, Director of Professional Learning for the Learning Technology Center. Today, I'm joined by my colleague, Lisa Schwartz. Before she gets started, just a couple quick reminders for you. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand at the conclusion. If you go to ltcillinois.org/events/webinars, scroll down to the bottom, you'll find the on-demand recordings of not only this webinar, but other past webinars. Feel free to check those out and share those with your friends and your colleagues. Also, if you are interested in PD credit, those emails will be sent out first thing tomorrow morning. And lastly, if you'd like to interact with Lisa or myself today, please make sure you use the chat. Don't forget to change the to who you're sending the questions to everyone, so that way not just Lisa and I can see the questions, but so can the rest of the attendees. And at the end, we'll have some opportunity for Q&A where you can have the ability to unmute yourself. But for right now, you'll all be muted, so please just use the chat to interact. Without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Lisa Schwartz, who's the Regional Ed Tech Coordinator, one of five across the state of Illinois. And she's here to join you today to talk a little bit about Jamboard.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian, and welcome everyone. Hopefully you've had a chance to maybe go get a snack or go use the restroom here before starting this workshop today. I did put the slide deck link into the chat, and if you can't access it, please let us know, but it should be there that you should be able to access. And one thing with this slide deck, if you've been in any workshops with me before, you know that I usually have plenty of material in there. So with 45 minutes today, there is plenty of material for you to peruse later after today's webinar. So welcome and glad you're able to join us here. And I will go ahead and share my screen here and we will walk through Jamboard. So many of you already know who I am, but in case if you don't, here on slide 2, my name is Lisa Schwartz, and this is my 22nd year in education. The first 19 years I did spend in the classroom teaching 6th through 9th graders, and then now I'm going on my 3rd year here with the Learning Technology Center. And what I want you to do to start off with today, if you have the slide deck, you should be able to add this to your drive. If you come up here to the top of the screen and to the right of the name of the slide deck, you should have a triangle up here. Mine has a folder because it's already in my Google Drive, but your triangle should be the one add to Google Drive. You can add the slide deck to Google Drive if you want to reference it after today. And then also right here on this slide, I have this Jamboard here. If you could go ahead and open this. This is on slide number 3, step number 2. If you open up this link, we are going to interact here with Jamboard. And don't panic, take a deep breath. If you've never used Jamboard before, we'll help you. But it looks like Katie's already put her name to the picture that describes her right now, so or represents how she's feeling. So again, as you can see, people are putting in their names here. If you're not for sure how to do this, don't panic. If I go over here to the left-hand side, so this is a Jamboard, and I go to the sticky note. I've got these tools on the left-hand side. So if I go to the sticky note here, this is where then I can type my name. So go ahead and type your name here. And then what you can do, you can change the color. So as we can see, Megan and Katie have different colors. And then once you put your name there, then it has your sticky note. And just like the 3 of you have done so far, they've moved the sticky note to whatever picture that represents how they're feeling right now. So Katie, hopefully we can help you feel a little bit better after today's session. So this is with Jamboard. It's just another tool that Google has out there. It's free for you to use in the school setting. And if you, for some reason, don't have this turned on or you have access to it, you just might have to reach out to your Google admin to turn on rights to Google Jamboard. So we've got a few people here who put on a sticky note how they're feeling. And again, what I did to create this was I just found some pictures out there, put some pictures in here. Some of you may be feeling something different that doesn't represent these pictures. So on this Jamboard, what I did, if you come up here to the top of the screen here in the middle, I can go to the next frame. So if I click on the next frame here, here is insert a picture of how you are feeling. So this gives you another shot to put a picture in. I did both because I didn't know what everyone's level of working with Jamboard would be. So again, I don't mean to stress anyone out there. So to insert a picture, so right now we've got someone inserting a picture of this puppy dog here. All you have to do is come over here to the left-hand side and go to add image. If I click on add image here, what I can do, I can upload an image. I can find an image by the URL. I can even take a picture with the camera and put the image in. I can even go here to the Google image search and type in an image. So we had a dog, I'll put it, my go-to is a monkey. Let me put a monkey. So then I can find a picture of a monkey and then I can insert it in. I'll just choose this one real quick here. And then once I click on this picture of the monkey, I can come here to the bottom right-hand corner and then put insert. And then once I inserted this picture, then I can move it around. Now, once you do insert a picture, you do have these 3 dots up here in the upper right-hand corner. What you can do, you can duplicate that picture, you can delete it, and you can even order it. So if you're familiar with ordering in Google Slides, this is kind of the same concept here. So I could click on order and I can send it backwards. And so then that could kind of go behind another picture. Or if I wanted to get a text box and put it a text box on top of this, I could do that. So I could come over here and go to the T for text box and then draw my text box here and then go ahead and type in whatever you want. And so this is how you can write on top of a picture. So I have the picture going behind. So, and it looks like someone put a different background on here. That is perfectly fine. One nice thing here with Jamboard, where right now I'll have editing rights to it. So Jamboard did give us version history so we can see who does what. Right now, since I did share this Jamboard out to you through a link and not through your Google account, you guys are all coming in as anonymous. And how do I know that you're coming in as anonymous or anonymous users? If I look up here in the upper right-hand corner, you guys, we can see that there's 5 anonymous users, or your now 6 different anonymous users out there. But again, if I had shared this out through Google Classroom or through your Google, through Gmail or through your Google account in some way, your Google account name, your either your picture or your initials would be up here instead of being an anonymous animal. All right, so we'll do a quick check here back on frame 1, then I can see where everyone's writing and putting their name. So everyone, wherever you're putting your name, that's fine. Hopefully we can help you as we go throughout today and give you some ideas you can use in your classroom even tomorrow. So let me go back here to the slide deck. I went ahead and jumped ahead of myself a little bit in the slide deck as I was talking about the shared Jamboard there. Real quick, just wanted to let you know about the LTC, the Learning Technology Center, other ways that they can help you. If you need more PD hours, feel free to check out the webinars page that Brian referred to earlier, or we even have the events page. So check out these links as well. Going on to then slide 5 here. What our agenda is today, I am going to backtrack a little bit and go over a little bit more about Jamboard and give you an introduction of it. Where if we have time, we might create and share some other Jamboards and then talk about Jamboard and how it incorporates into Google Meet. So as you just saw with the activity we did first thing there, that it's a digital whiteboard, and you can make that digital whiteboard interactive. You can put pictures in it. You can, write your name on it, write things on a sticky note or in a text box. So you'll see what else we can do with the Jamboard here. The other thing here, besides adding and drawing pictures, we can even add files to the Jamboard. And then what I set up with this Jamboard here that you just worked on here, I went ahead and shared it in the upper right hand corner, and I shared it to you via a link from the slide deck. And I put anyone on the internet with this link can edit, and that's how I shared it out and copied for you. But if I go back to change here, this is very similar to all of the other files within Google when we, for the sharing settings. So you can see that I can just share it with staff. I've got these different categories here that I can share this file out with. And then again, if I don't want you to have editing rights, I can change where it says editor, and I can just give you viewable rights. So even if you are going to share it out with Google Classroom, you can have viewable rights on it, but then when you share it out to Google Classroom, you can change it where it makes a copy for each student for them to have editing rights. So all of that is done up here in the upper right-hand corner with the share button. And then the other thing here, we can set different backgrounds, and it looked like someone changed their background, and that is perfectly fine. And we can create multiple pages. So let me go back to this Jamboard and talk to you about some of the features here. So if I go to the next frame here, and maybe I did that, I can't remember, but this background is a little bit different than the frame one. And all I have to do is come up here where it says set background, and I can change it to different backgrounds. So feel free, you can play around with it. You can play around with it here. It'll just change this one. That is perfectly fine. I can also change the background to put an image in the background. So that is a fairly new feature here in Jamboard, that you can set an image as the background. So again, if anybody wants to play around with that right now with this one, feel free to do so. And then if I go back to frame one here, you can see that I've just got the blank background here. And if I need to clear the frame, I can hit clear and it clears the frame. Now, you might have heard me say that I called these frames. So within Google Jamboard, they do call these frames. And as you can see, I've got two frames here. I've got the second page, which is the second frame, or the first page or the first frame. And as you can see at the top of the page, I can toggle back and forth to as many frames as I have in here. And one other thing, if you see right down underneath the frames, there is an arrow. What that arrow will allow you to do is expand the frame bar. So then it gives me a picture, like a bird's eye view of all of the frames that I have there. So here I just have two frames, and it's showing me 4 anonymous animals are on frame 1 and 2 of you are on frame 2. And then if at any time, if I want to, let's say I wanted to duplicate this page, again, we've got the 3 dots up here in the upper right-hand corner. I can duplicate this page or I can delete it. At any time, if I want to add another frame in between frame 1 and 2, all I have to do is hit this blue button with the plus sign in the middle of it, and I can add a frame. So I can add a frame at the beginning or in the middle or at the end. And again, feel free, some of you, if you want to add some frames to see how that works, go ahead and do that, because we can always delete them. If I accidentally go and hit this arrow to the 3rd frame, what it does, it also creates a new frame there. So that's another way that if you're okay with having the frame at the end, that you can just click on the arrow at the end. Now, if you're familiar with slides and you know how you can maneuver Google Slides around and change the order, you can kind of do the same thing with frames here. So if I just drag it, do you see how I have that blue line in the middle of frame 2 and 3? Then if I move it all the way over here to the right, it will go at the end of the frames. So for, that's just this expand the frame bar. Sometimes people forget about that up there. Now, the other thing over here on the left-hand side, I've got some of these tools here. Some of you already experienced and worked with some of the tools here. And again, if you want to play around with it on this document or on this Jamboard, this file, feel free to do so. So here's the pen. Can you write your name on here? And if you do, right now it's just black, but can I change it? Yeah, do you see this arrow right here to the right of this pen? You can change the thickness of the pen and you can change the colors. So I keep referring to this as a pen. I guess if you look here, we've got the pen, you've got the marker. So within the pen, you've got the highlighter, and then you also have the brush. So you have 4 different tools under this icon here. So yeah, perfect. And so, after a while, even if you don't have a touch screen, students will learn how to sign their name or write using their touchpad or their mouse. And then, if I don't like the L that I put there, I can either come here to the erase button and I can erase it. So I've got the eraser, or another key thing tool is this undo button up here to the top left. If I hit undo, it will put the L back then. I also have this pointer where I can select certain things. And then I can use that tool to select. And then I also have the sticky note, which many of you already used already. Then we've got the images. And then here, this was a newer feature that Jamboard put on here is we've got the circle, but then if you click on the circle, they did add some other shapes in there for you. So let's say I wanted this arrow here. I could come here, draw the arrow. And then again, I've got the 3 dots here. I can duplicate, delete, and order. And as you can see, since this is a collaborative document, we all have editing rights to it. You can delete what I put on there and vice versa. And then again, the text box, and then we've got the laser pointer. So if for some reason you or your students were doing a screencast of your Jamboard explaining your thinking on here, you could use a laser pointer here to point out where you're talking. Even if you're not doing a screencast, you could do that even if you're showing your screen to your students, so they know where to look of what you're talking about. Okay. So let's see. And then we also have the zoom. One other thing on here, as you can see, if you go up here in the top right-hand corner to the left of the share button, you've got 3 dots here as well. You've got more actions. So right now, I could click on here and rename it. Or if I just come over here to the name, I can click on it and rename it there. So just like with many of the other Google tools that you use, there's multiple ways to do the same thing. Also under the 3 dots, if for some reason I need to download this as a PDF, I could do that. I can save, if I had 15 frames in here, if I just needed to save one of the frames, I could save it, and I could save it as an image. And especially if kids are working on this and they only needed to turn in one of the frames to you, whether you're using Google Classroom or a different learning management system, they could save the frame as an image and then upload that image to turn it in, instead of turning in the whole jam with 15 frames on it. You can delete this Jamboard. You can even make a copy. And then here's a link to get help. You can send some feedback to Google. And then also you've got version history. Again, this was new, I want to say maybe within the last month. If someone wants to put it in chat, if you know exactly when it came out, feel free to do that. But that was something that we were waiting on for a while, this version history. So we're glad to see that it's there now. So let me just kind of go back here to the slide deck. Here's just talks about some benefits of using a Jamboard. And you might be saying, well, Lisa, this kind of seems similar to Google Slides. And it's yet another tool. Don't panic if your students want to use it and you don't know everything about it. That is just keep remembering that it's another tool that you or your students could use. So we'll go over some examples of how you can use it in the classroom. Now, we opened up this Jamboard that I had linked into this Google slide deck. So how do you go about just opening up a Jamboard? So a couple different ways. If I'm in Google Chrome and I'm in my Google account, so I could come over here to the right-hand side and go to my waffle. If I go to my waffle, then you should see Jamboard. If you don't see Jamboard, don't panic. There's another way we can try to access Jamboard. So if I just click on Jamboard, it opens up a blank, or it opens up my recent jams. It shows all of my Google Jamboards here. And so if I want to start a new one, it's very similar to some of the other Google tools. In the bottom right-hand corner, this plus sign is how you can create a new jam. So just click on that plus sign, and then it will open up a new jam for you. So then you can come up here to the top left-hand side and give it a name. And hit OK, and so then it named it. Another way you can go into open up a new Jamboard, you can open it up within Google Meet. So if you're meeting with any students using Google Meet, there's a way we can open up the Jamboard, and it's right here under number 1. It says Whiteboard, open a jam. You can open it up inside Google Classroom, the waffle, and then you can just always go to jamboard.google.com. So if I go back to a blank new tab real quick, and I go over here to my waffle, if for some reason that Jamboard is way down here and you want it farther up here so that you don't have to keep scrolling down, you can move these apps under the waffle. So this Jamboard, if it's something I use all the time, I can click on it and just move it. I'm holding my mouse down, and then I'm just moving it up so that it's at the top. And so then anytime I go into my waffle, then it's right there. I don't have to scroll down to that. Slide 10 and 11 here. I kind of diagrammed what all of the tools are and where everything's at. So use that for your reference if you need to. Slide 12, I did talk about how the 3 dots, anytime you see 3 dots, that it's another menu, and you can have the 3 dots, whether it's a text box or an image you put in. You should have some other options that you can manipulate, whether it's a text box or image. And then here on slide 13, don't forget with this expanding the frame bar that you can see all of the frames, and it kind of gives you a bird's eye view. So why is this important? A couple things. If you're creating a jam to share with your students, and or if you have multiple students working on the same Jamboard, so then you can kind of see, okay, slide 1, students are working on that. Slide 2, what happened to that group? Nothing's happening. So you could maybe know to reach out to them to see what questions or what's going on with that group. So that expand frame bar is handy to have. All right, real quick, I see some questions in the chat there. What touchpad do you recommend? If anybody has suggestions out there, feel free to give, put your suggestions in there so that Heather can see. I know there's some Chromebooks out there that also have, the touch screens. So again, it depends on what your district is using. And sometimes they want to kind of go in the same, have the same devices across, grade level or across the school. So I don't, off the top of my head, have any to recommend. So if anybody has one that you really like, please drop that in chat for Heather. And can everyone look at the edit history? That's a great question, Megan, here. So if I go to version history right here, you should all have access to this, but right now you are all coming up as anonymous users. But if I share this out again with Google, with you through your Google account, or send it in an email, you would come up here, just like it says my name and it has a color. You would all have a certain color and it would show what you are doing on this document. Very similar to what we see in Google Slides, Google Docs, Google Sheets, all of the different apps out there. Are you guys able to see the version history as well? If someone wants to answer in the chat, you should be able to. If you go up here to the 3 dots and go to version history, it's just going to show you guys all as anonymous users here. Oh, interesting. So maybe I need to check into that, of why that's not showing up. All right, so I'll look into that and maybe hopefully get an answer of why that's not happening. All right, so I'm going to go and open up my Google Classroom here. And so if I want to share a Jamboard out to the students, again, it's like any other assignment I want to share out with the students. So if I open up one of my classrooms, and I go up to classwork and I create an assignment. I can go to add, and what I could do here, I can add it from my Google Drive. I can put the link in. So let me just go and grab the link from the one we are working on today here. So if I wanted my students to work on this here, I'll just go and put a link in and paste the link here. And so here's the Google Jamboard. Now, what I could do here, if I want the students to collaborate on this, or this is group work, what I could do over here is students can view file. Again, if this is group work, I would want the students to be able to edit file. Now, just like with any tool that I push out to students to use for the first time, sometimes I give them structured play time around it and not necessarily an assignment for the Jamboard for the first time, something like maybe the one I gave you for them to experience and play around with Jamboard. So on this one, let's say I have students can edit file. Now, what I could do, let's say I don't want all of my 25 or 30 kids in my class to be all on one Jamboard, because some of those kids will maybe accidentally delete or purposely delete other people's work. And another thing about Jamboard, I said 25 or 30 kids. I have this later on in the slide deck, but with a Jamboard, you can only have 20 people actively working on it at a time. So that's another reason that you don't want more than 20 kids to open up that Jamboard, because only 20 of them can be editors at one time. You can have 50 people view the Jamboard at one time, but of those 50, only 20 of them would be able to edit it. So in this case, what I could do, I could make a copy of this. And if I already have the students in groups, I could still share this one assignment out, but I could have, let me go and just make a copy of this real quick. So if I go up here to the 3 dots and click make a copy, I'm just going to keep copy. Well, I'll put 323, and then let me say group 2. And then I'll get the link to share this out and put it in Google Classroom as well. So what I could do, while that's making a copy, I'm going to X out of that, go back and create a new link with the new name. So since I'm putting in groups, so there's my group 1, then I'll go and share this and get the link for this one as well. So even though I made a copy, I do have to go back and put anyone with the link. And then I'll give them, even if I put viewing rights, I'll keep viewing rights and show you, and I can click copy link, go back to my classroom, and then I can go and add this as well as a link. So here, now I've got 2 different files here, and let me put down that they can edit each file. And then, so if I send this out to the students, then group 1, hopefully after some time, the students who are in group 1 know to click on the group 1 link. The students who are in group 2 know to click on the group 2 link. So only those students will be editing that file. So then I can just share it out. But if for some reason I want the students to have their own copy, over here in Google Classroom, I can put it so that each student has their own copy. But for this assignment, it's group work, or I want them to see how each other's feeling. So then I can push it out again within Google Classroom. I can go and change all of this here. So that not everyone gets this assignment, let me just push it out to 1 student here, and I'll put assign. So then that student will have that assignment, or those students will see that assignment then. And then they would just know. So, and do you see how here in the beginning, if the student just doesn't go into viewing the assignment? So one thing you could do is, you know how I put group 1 at the end? I might want to put the name group 1 at the beginning. So in this view here, they can see that, oh, this is their group 1, or this is their group 2. So I would just need to go in and change where I put the group 1, just put it at the beginning. So then it would be at the beginning. So then if they didn't want to go into the whole entire assignment, they could do that. Let's see. So moving on to slide 16, again, here's some things to remember. If you forget, don't panic. You can only have 20 frames per jam. So right now you've got a limit of frames, meaning pages, only 20 frames per jam. So again, you know, if you have a class of 25 to 30 kids, you wouldn't be able to have all of them complete a Jamboard then. 20 editing collaborators, and then 50 viewers at a time. Slide 17, I went ahead and put in here that there is an Android app that you can download if you have an Android device, whether it's a tablet or a phone. And there are a few different features on the Android app. So if you hear someone say, hey, I can do auto draw or text recognition on Jamboard, that is only available if they do this on the Android app. Currently, right now, it's not available. Or, you know, I can't show you right now on this device here. Also here, slide 18, 19, and 20 here. So earlier I said something about using Screencastify. And right here, one reason you might use a Jamboard is for a digital whiteboard for a kid to explain how to do a math problem. So for example, if a student was solving this expression here, they could explain it to you in steps on the Jamboard here, or vice versa. If you're the teacher, you're wanting to explain how to do this, you know, solve this expression to the students, you could do that here using, some of you may use Loom, Screencastify, Screencast-O-Matic, lots of different screen recordings out there that you can use. So then what you could do then on your frame 1, have the first part of the expression to solve. then the next frame, you could have the, next part of the problem to solve. And then the third one, you could then have the answer. And then this also, I think I said it earlier, it makes their thinking visible. I don't know about you guys, but I had students who cheated all the time and they could just look off of their neighbors. So then this will let you know do they understand how to solve this? The order of operations. So if they don't, then that would be evident in their screen recording to you. So, that this is just one example, whether it's the student explaining how to do the math problem or you as a teacher explaining it for the students to go back and take a look at later. And then also if you use Google Meet. So I think I had a screenshot earlier I showed you where you can open up, once you have a Google Meet open, you can open up this whiteboard. So where it says a whiteboard, that means Jamboard. And what's nice about this is it is automatically shared with everyone who is in that Google Meet with you. They have viewing only rights, so they can't change anything. But if you want them to have editing rights, you can change that. So you can change the settings after you share the Jamboard with them. And then another nice thing about this, if you're in a Google Meet, that it automatically names the Jamboard, the name of your Google Meet, and dates it. You can always rename it, and then it puts it in your Google Drive then for you to access later. So give that a try if you have access to Google Meet. In the bottom right-hand corner, there should be a spot where you can access, and it should look like this about starting a new whiteboard. Or as you can see, if you don't want to start a new whiteboard, you have one already created, you can choose it from your drive as well. All right, I've got another activity here. I've got this, open this Jamboard. So you guys should all have editing rights if I shared it out to you correctly. So if you want to try to open it. And I have several frames on here, and I know we're getting close to the end of time. But the reason I wanted to share this with you is because here's another way you can share a Jamboard with your students. And with this template, I didn't create this. You could spend hours upon hours of all of the templates out there that have been created, and they allow you to use them. I didn't pay for this template. Most of the time, the templates, usually somewhere on the Jamboard, it'll tell you who created it. This one does not, but I believe this was created by Chris Sajnar. And I think he works for Seesaw now. But so here's what is one thing you like about Jamboard. So right here, what I did, I put the instructions up here on a sticky note. Again, you all have editing rights. If anybody wants to go ahead and grab a sticky note, write what you like about Jamboard, and then place it on a number here. And then if I go to the next frame, here I've got, what are your challenges, or what challenges you about Jamboard? Again, same thing with a sticky note. You can write on a sticky note and answer that questions that you may have about Jamboard. And then this frame was, if we had more time, I had a lot of different jams, examples of Jamboards here that you can take a look at, and you can still take a look at them even after this workshop. So if I jump down to slide 24, so let me just tell you real quick, slide 24, 25, and 26 have a lot of examples on Jamboard. So feel free to take a look at that. And if you're not familiar with Wakelet, Wakelet is another tool out there that people can create collections. So if here on slide 26, I've got this Jamboard here. It's a Wakelet collection that someone created of a lot of different Jamboards out there. So as that's opening, you can see and you can start using some of these Jamboards today or tomorrow with your students. And this one, this Wakelet, is Jamboards that she's made a collection of for primary and elementary students. And as you can see, lots of different people have created these, and she's just put the links in here. So will you come across maybe some of the links that might not work or be outdated? You may, but feel free to take a look at those as well. One other thing back here on slide 24, again, here's some more examples. If we had time, we would collaborate more on some of these files. But for example, we've got a picture of the day. So here, this is a way you can insert a picture and then have the kids interact with it. You know, what they wonder, what they notice, what this may make them think. And so then what they could do here is where it says, I noticed, they could just come up here to the 3 dots. As long as they have editing rights, they could go ahead and start editing. What do they notice about this picture? So you can create some things ahead of time so that it's a template that they can work from. Now, again, you're like, Lisa, I don't have time to create all of these. Don't panic. There's a lot of things already created. And depending on the age that you teach, maybe see if kids could help you search for different activities out there that you could use in the classroom as well. So if you look right here in this picture of the day sample slides, if I come up here to the frame bar and I click that arrow, I can see the different frames there are. So there are 4 different samples here. Here's just the blank template here. And then I can put my own picture. I can copy and put in the sticky notes for the kids to start writing on as well. So if I want to use this one, again, all I have to do is come up here to the 3 dots and duplicate this. So when I duplicate it, then now I've got 2 blank templates here that I can go back and add pictures. And, you know, think about it, sometimes have the kids put pictures and they in here and that they want to find out what other students in the classroom, what they notice about it or wonder or makes them think. But you have editing rights to this that you should be able to change these to whatever, if you don't like those prompts here as well. All right, Brian, I know we're getting close and I see a question in chat, so let me try to answer that as well. But hopefully this hasn't overwhelmed you, that this is yet another tool that you could have the kids explore, you could maybe use in the classroom. You've got all of these different activities here that you can look at, but I hope you're not walking away from today's session thinking that you're overwhelmed because you think that you have to create all of these new jams and give to the students. There's lots of different templates out there.
Yeah, I think this question comes back from when we were talking about the sharing settings about Google Classroom. If it's shared out, does that kind of overrule the other settings if you share it via Classroom?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Brian. Classroom trumps the other settings. Did that answer your question, Megan? I guess you kind of said that there as well. Okay.
Feel free to type any other questions you have in the chat, or you should, as long as you're using an updated version of Zoom, have the ability now to unmute yourself and ask a question if you'd like. So go ahead and either type or unmute.
So as you can see, this session could easily be 2-3 hours long. But we wanted to leave you today with an introduction of Jamboard and then some resources. Does anybody want to share how you might be be able to use this in your classroom, whether it's this week or maybe before the end of the school year? Anything that, if you've had time to look at any of the resources? Yeah, Heather, that is correct. Yeah, lots more to learn.
All right, well, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up for the day. Reminder again, you can, I did put the slide deck there in the chat just a second ago, and the recording will be available once it finishes processing on the website, ltcillinois.org/events/webinars a little bit later on. That's a great question, Heather. And I know Lisa has done some stuff extensively. Lisa, you got anything else coming up on using Jamboard? Anything in more detail?
I have in the past. I don't think there's anything on the books right now, but if that's something that you're interested in, we can get another one scheduled here. Heather, does this time work out well for people? Starting like at 3:30? And Brian, I don't know if you have room. Okay, Carrie's saying yeah. So look at, be on the watch out for the events. I don't know, Brian, if you have any more available slots for a webinar.
Yeah, we could probably do mid to late April or early May. I know we've got a few the next couple of weeks here booked up, but I'm sure we can get in touch and see if we can do something in early to mid-April.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Okay, sounds great.
So look for it, unless if you need it sooner, reach out and I can walk you through some other things. But yeah, hopefully this is a good start and piques your interest a little bit.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for attending. Make sure you check out the recording if you'd like to watch it a little bit later on. And I'll be sending out PD credit, the evaluation email first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, everyone have a wonderful afternoon.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone.